at Sports 3, main event of the evening. Wait.
I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia. I went to high school in Norfolk. I went to Norfolk Collegiate High School. I actually went there from middle school all the way through senior year high school. And then I came down to South Florida, where I went to Florida Atlantic University, and I majored in communications. Currently, I work in real estate. I'm the transaction coordinator for the Worth Group, which is a real estate firm here in Boca Raton under Fortune International Realty. And I've also worked in radio, not on the air. I was working as a producer. The proverbial living the dream. First thing I did actually was right out of high school. It was right before I came down to college in the summer of 2004. I got the opportunity to participate in a professional wrestling event where I was the ring announcer, and that was, I guess, my first professional experience. And then from there, I participated in college radio and just got my feet wet, working the boards for different shows, and also having my own radio show with a broadcast partner. And then I also was able to work some of the games for the different sports teams at the university, and that's kind of how I first got everything going with sports broadcasting. But it's something I've always wanted to do, but that's where I initially got my experience. You run the show. I mean, you're the hype man. I mean, I'm the guy with the microphone, and the guy with the microphone is the loudest. Everyone in the room is looking at you. So whether you say something good or you say something bad, they're going to notice. It's one of those things where, to me, when I have the ability to get a fighter who's in this, if we're talking MMA or kickboxing or boxing, combat sports, when you're in the zone as a fighter, I mean, you're about to go to combat, you're about to go to war proverbially, and you are just seconds away from that bell ringing. I'm the last thing that you're going to see and hear. And if I say your name a certain way, and I say where you're from a certain way, and you have a nickname, and I can throw that in there, and I can put a little extra spice on it, and then you're getting to the point where you're just ready to just explode, then I did my job. And then I get that crowd hyped when I say their name. They're going to have fans in the audience. People there are going to get hyped up. And to me, I can create that big fight feel. So as a ring announcer, I like to say, I set the table. I'm a table setter. So if I can set the table for a big fight feel and a big event and a big time fight, then I did my job. My family inspires me. I mean, I know that's kind of cliche, but they've given me the opportunity throughout the years to live my dream. There's times where I've had to lean on them for support when I was younger, going through hard times and going through difficult situations, because they've always allowed me to, continue to build on what I started, and they've always believed in the fact that, I can do this for a living. I have what it takes to do it at a high level, and, in a way, it's kind of paying them back, and it's, that they motivate me, and, they're my parents. I mean, they're the ones that really, have set that standard for me in that aspect. And I don't want to sound cliche again, but, the fans. I mean, not necessarily fans of me, but just fans of the genre. I mean, when I can go out there and as a ring announcer, and I can, set the table, and I can, conduct the show and lead the audience throughout, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, whatever it is, several fights, whatever it might be. That's definitely motivating in that aspect. Or, when I'm doing commentary and I can, deliver the action to people watching at home and take them on that roller coaster through everything that they're watching and seeing, whether it's professional wrestling or basketball or boxing or MMA or, kickboxing, whatever it is. So to me, that's really cool, and that's what keeps me going. And, besides the fact that, I'm almost 36 years old, and 36 years I pretty much wanted to do this. So that's motivation in itself. But, those other things that I said, that's pretty much what, keeps me going each and every day. Oh, I love these questions. Where do I see myself 1 year from now? I have no idea, and that's the exact answer that I can give. Because 1 year ago today, I was doing this, but I was not where I am right now. And I don't just mean that in like I've leveled up with my skill or whatever, but my schedule in late February, early March of 2021, there's things on my calendar. I was doing some cool stuff, but the way things had picked up from the month of April, pretty much all through the month of December, I mean, my schedule, I was working 6, 7, 8 events a month sometimes, and multiple 3, 4 states, and sometimes 2, 3, 4 things a weekend, and it got crazy. I mean, in a positive way, but I could have never told you that was going to happen, in the beginning part of the year. And also, in my I guess real life, I started working in real estate last year, and I would have never envisioned that happening, because in January of that year, I had a job change at a radio station where I ended up getting fired the day I won Ring Announcer of the Year. I mean, things get crazy. I mean, you can't predict life. And that's why, to me, where I'm going to be from a year from now, the only thing I can always say, and this is something I always used to tell my mom when she'd always freak out about, oh, you haven't made it yet, blah, 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 blah. I'd say, Mom, where was I last year? Where am I today? Where was I 2 years ago? As long as it's going like this, it doesn't have to go like this. As long as it's going like this and not like this or like this, as long as you're, going that direction, then to me, you're doing the right thing, because this is a long game. And as an announcer, it's different than a fighter. It's different than just a regular athlete. There's not a finite amount of time that you can do this. I mean, I can start like I did at 18 years old doing a wrestling event, and I can do this literally until I'm in my 70s. So it's one of the, or even 80s. I mean, who knows? So it's one of those things where, at 35 years old, my mid-30s here, I'm basically just getting started. So as long as I continue to ascend up the ladder and do bigger events and do higher profile things, then I'm moving in the right direction, and that's all I can really ask for in this situation. You really must love it. If you want to do this for a living, you have to understand what you're getting yourself into, and that's a lot of time where some things seem glamorous, like, oh, you're working regional television in the Pacific Northwest. Like, how cool is that? Like, you want to fly from Florida on a Friday afternoon to Seattle, Washington, to Portland, Oregon. But don't forget, you got connection flights, because you don't go straight to Portland. So you got connection flights, then you go to Portland, and you got a 3-hour time change. And then you wake up the next morning for like a 7 a.m. call time. And then you go call 8 hours of television, and then you get back on the plane the next day, and you come back here and you lose 3 hours. It's nuts. But again, you don't think about that when you're getting into it. You just think, oh, I'm calling them action. And yeah, when I'm out there, I'm calling it, it's great. And when I'm eating the voodoo donuts, it's great. But the bottom line is, it's a grind, and the travel's brutal. The hours are brutal. I mean, I'm having an event in Port St. Lucie, Florida, 90 minutes from my house on a Friday night after working 8 hours that day. I drive up to Port St. Lucie. I call the event. I drive home, and I forgot to mention, I have a 5 a.m. flight the next day in Fort Lauderdale. So I get home, I have to make dinner, I get about 3 hours of sleep, I drive down to Fort Lauderdale, and then I'm off to Virginia to do ring announcing and commentary in the same day. Things get nuts in this industry, and you have to be cut out for it. It's a grind. And if you do want to do it, and it's something that you want to get into for the rest of your life, and you want to be a part of it, you just have to stick with it, because people, if you stay with it, stuff will happen. You'll get opportunity. Just don't quit. And that's, if you can end up doing this, if this is something that you want to do, that's the best advice I can give, is don't quit. But also, before you get into it, know what you're getting yourself into, because there's a lot of people that dream big about it, but they don't really know what's involved with it. It's really tough. It's a grind, and that's why the best end up getting those positions that they do.
And thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.